Hello and welcome to this first episode of the Human Instrument Mastery podcast. I am beyond excited. This has been in the plan for a very long time. And so I am thrilled to welcome you and invite you to join me on this journey. I'm Shimrit Nativ. I will be your host. I am a mindset expert and a success and freedom mentor. And I am on a mission to change the world one person at a time through knowledge, practices, tools that are really rooted in science, but are purely spiritual in their nature and have the potential to change your life and to change the collective experience of life that we are co creating. And so let's get started. What do I mean by the human instrument? You are, and I am, and each and every one of us, we are spiritual beings. Now, if you are not really vibing with the term spiritual, that's okay. You could switch that word and replace it with energetic. So we are energetic beings. Everything is made out of this formless substance, energy, and we know that to be scientifically true. To just elaborate on this a little bit more and simplify this idea that is really grand and mind blowing, that everything is made out of the same formless substance or energy. Think about atoms. Everything is made out of atoms, and atoms are 99.9999999% energy. So this means that everything, including everything as solid as it may seem to us, is actually made out of pure energy. Only 0.00001% particles or matter. So let's lay this out as a foundation. And then if you do like the term spiritual, then spirit is energy and energy is spirit. And I mean one and the same when I say those words. And so you are an energetic being, you are a spiritual being, and you have, as a human being, an instrument, the human instrument, which is your mind and your body, that is designed to allow energy / spirit to be expressed in a physical form and then be experienced by you, the human being. So as a human being, you have two parts, if you will. You have your spiritual part, you have your energetic part, you have the consciousness nature of who you truly are, pure consciousness, pure energy, pure spirit. And then you have your physical part, you have your human part, and that entails conscious mind and physical body. Now, this instrument is operating on a program, and that program resides on the subconscious level of the mind. So your tool is the conscious mind with which you can direct your thought, process ideas, originate ideas, and all kinds of things that we're going to talk about. And then on the subconscious level of your mind, there is a program that has been set in the very early years of your life for the most part, specifically and mostly the first 7 years of your life. And that program has almost complete control of all of your thoughts, feelings, and actions, and therefore everything that you create in your life. One of my great mentors always says, Dr. Joe Dispenza says, your personality creates your personal reality. That means that how you think, feel, and act, these are the components of your personality, of your state of being. How you think, feel, and act creates everything in your external reality. And so if you want to change anything in your external reality, in your experience of life, then you must change something within yourself. And that subconscious program has almost complete control. In fact, 95 to 98% control of all of your thoughts, feelings, and actions, and therefore everything that you create and experience in your life. So wouldn't you agree that this is of the highest importance and urgency that we all learn how to master this instrument and how to go into the operating system of it in the subconscious level of our mind to update the program that we are operating on so we can actually choose how to think, feel, and act, and therefore what we create and experience in our life? Now, I always say this choice, the choice of how to think, how to feel, and how to act, this choice is a skill. You have free will. You have free choice, but that freedom is a skill that you can practice and master. And if you do not feel like you have that choice, if you do not feel like you're free to choose how to think and how to feel, that's okay. because it's a skill that you can practice and master. And so you have the instrument, you just haven't developed the skill to master it. And when you do, you can make those choices and change your life in the most marvelous way. So, we are here to discuss in this podcast episode exactly how to master this skill and to master this instrument so you can create a life that you can fall in love with each and every day and be part of the co creation of a world that we can fall in love with every single day together. Now, a little bit about myself. I was a musician and still am a musician, and it was my career for almost 20 years. I was a jazz flautist and later on a singer songwriter, a producer, a performer, and always a teacher. I always loved connecting with people on a personal level and teach them and guide them and support them in developing a skill and an expression of themselves. So for a long time, this was in music, but I actually always had this other passion and gift to connect with people beyond the language of music, beyond any language really, and really connect with their heart and their soul and help them express that in the most authentic way for them. And I've had this gift and desire to do that since a very young age. I believe this was planted within me as part of my path, being born to a family with a brother, my brother, who had cerebral palsy, and he was 6.5 years older than me. He died when I was 6 years old. In fact, he was buried right on my sixth birthday. And when I was 6 months old, he was moved to a home for children in his condition. He was in a very severe state of cerebral palsy. He had no way to communicate with the outside world in a way that anyone would understand. He had no control over his body whatsoever. And the doctors at the time really believed and convinced my parents that there was no soul in the body and it was all just chemistry and reflexes. So he was moved to another home outside of our family home, but we would still visit him every 2 weeks. So I met my brother and connected with him heart to heart, soul to soul, every 2 weeks until he died. And I was a very young girl, so I didn't know what was it all about, cerebral palsy. This was just a reality. And what I did know is that he had a heart and he had a soul, and I connected to it. And so I believe that this experience in my first 6 years of my life, and then losing him and having all the experiences around that that one can only imagine, really planted within me a seed to help people express their true selves and find a way to bring that out into the world and overcome limitations, misunderstandings, and so on. And in fact, in my native language, Hebrew, my brother's name, Nitzan, means a sprout. And our last name, Nativ, means path. And my name, Shimrit, means something like the little keeper. And so years after, I have come to realize that I am the little keeper of a path that my brother has sprouted within me. And so I have founded many years after a company called Master Your Path. And within that, I am now leading a beautiful, inspiring community of people that are all committed to master their own path and master their own human instrument. And I am so very grateful for that. And so I was a musician for all these years, but this passion and desire and gift of mine was always there. In fact, when I was 20 years old, I actually went to study psychology, but I didn't like the faculty and the path that they laid out there for everybody to fulfill that passion of theirs to help other people. And so I left that quite quickly. And I found myself going into a relationship with a partner that lived outdoors off grid. And I joined him in that lifestyle. And for 5 years, I lived off grid in nature without any facilities like a shower or a toilet or a bed. And I chopped wood and collected wood for fire so I can cook and warm the water for my bucket shower. And this was a very extreme lifestyle in which I have found a way to this other passion that I always had, which was music. And I finally picked up the flute, which was an instrument I always wanted to play as a teenager and somehow couldn't really find my way to it. And I started teaching myself how to play the flute, and later on really committed myself and devoted myself to this art of music and became a professional musician. I went to university, I started singing, I started writing my own music, I started performing and touring. This was my life. And many things happened throughout that journey and throughout those 20 years, healing my body from precancerous lesions in my cervix, working through a lot of my own trauma, my own inner transformations, attracting the love of my life into my life, becoming a mother, relocating from Israel to Germany. And fast forward 20 years, this other passion of mine, this other desire of mine to work with people and help them beyond the language of music, really from the depth of their soul, express who they truly are and overcome all these limitations. This other gift of mine was ready to be unwrapped. And so I followed that calling, not really knowing where it would lead me, left my musical career and devoted myself into really asking life, okay, what do you want from me? What's next? And that path started to unfold and unravel. And I went and studied all kind of coaching certifications and healing modalities and so on. And I started working with people as a coach, and I found that I was very much in love with that work, and it made a difference in people's lives. And so I wanted to create a bigger impact. And that led me to start a business online. That was before COVID. And I invested a lot in starting my own business and learning from scratch, really everything, because I've never even worked at anybody else's business because I was just a musician. I was an artist, and I always worked for myself as a teacher and as a musician. And so I really learned how to use the online world, marketing, sales, budgeting, leadership, a lot of things. And in that journey, I have experienced in the first year of my business a very severe burnout because you see, I've invested in all these strategies and I've set very high goals for myself and I've reached them. I've reached six figures in my first year of business. But what I didn't do is master my human instrument. And what I didn't do is update that subconscious program to match where I was going next. And so I was operating on an outdated subconscious program that did not allow me to really reach the vision that I had for myself, for my business, for my impact. And so it reached a point where I had to stop everything and bring it back to zero and start everything from scratch. And then I started working with some great mentors like Bob Proctor and Dr. Joe Dispenza to really learn how to update that program and its setting so I can really reach the destination that I have set for myself and continue expanding more and more my vision and bring more and more of it into reality. And fast forward to today, I have worked with some incredible mentors further on, like Regan Helier and Neil Donald Walsh. And I've rebuilt my business. We are now in Master Your Path, a team of 11 people and counting. We have countless of people around the world that are part of our community. And I am so very humbled and grateful to have built a seven-figure business with a great impact. And we are on a mission, as I said, to change the world one person at a time. And so this is just a little introduction about what is the human instrument and who am I. And I can't wait to share more and more practices, tools, and insights with you so you can practice and master your own human instrument and create a life that you can fall in love with each and every day. So for today, what I would love for you to do is subscribe to this podcast and share it with someone maybe on your social media that you think can benefit from this information. And I can't wait to have you here on my next episode. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you soon.